Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Abstraction Cup. Going to be an early match today on this Thursday evening in UTC. It's going to be Get Creative, Make a Team Name versus Team Yippee. It's going to be very interesting to see, especially after their round of 32 performances. Just looking at the stats already, this could get very close for a quarterfinal match this early. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. As always, in the commentary booth, I'm going to be Nightkore. Joining me is going to be Epic Man 2, going to be our lovely host. How are you doing?
Hello. Hi, yeah, doing pretty good. I had a bit of a boring Thursday. I had like what, a 4-hour nap, give or take, because I thought I was gonna go to the garbage center, but guess that's not happening today, as it looks like both teams got relatively creative with a team schedule. Yippee.
That is the way it runs. So here we are. It does look like hold on. Alright. Blue's gonna win the roll, seems like.
Yeah. Okay, Team Yippee won with a 69 roll. Oh, that's like 5 numbers above what Get Creative got. That's crazy.
Yeah, it is expected to happen in most matches, but alright,
Yeah.
Yippee's gonna go for the protect, and they could realistically go for anything here. But I think maybe to stay on the safe side. Well, the thing is like they're well rounded, so it's kind of hard to predict what they would protect. Maybe it's just a map they might be comfortable with, or okay, Rice 6.
Okay. I think that makes sense for Protector throw right out the gate going into this round, considering for the fact that Rice 6 is basically the more dump control oriented out of everything else so far. I mean, like, well, Rise 5 is also somewhat dump centric, but not inherently to the scale that Splash of True Colors is, especially, I want to say.
Yeah, you can kind of sort of see that. Like, even looking at qualifiers for Get Creative, Make a Team Name, it shows here, like, they were a bit weaker on, well, not saying that their physical picks were bad, they were just scored the low seed out of all of them. Which, I mean, I know comparing qualifier stats to now is probably going to be at most relevant, as we're kind of approaching our qualifier difficulties, so it's kind of a bit easier to judge from here. But Rice 3 is going to be protected on the side of Get Creative as well.
Okay, so that's going to be double Rice Protect coming out from both teams. I think this is pretty much predictable, given that both teams are really well rounded when it comes to Rice overall. It might be a little dangerous, like, especially thinking about, you know, in future terms when it comes to the actual matches, itself, in terms of how exactly both teams are going to manage with a lot of these Rice picks, if it's going to be, you know, their comfort zone. But L3 will also get the ban on top of that, so that's going to be a desires being thrown off the floor. I wouldn't be particularly surprised if Team Yippee was to go for something that's maybe outside the box as well, like maybe going for another Ellen ban, maybe remove some of the harder picks, or maybe something from the hybrid category, because I would imagine that hybrid 2 is probably going to be the worst enemy of many teams going into this round, probably.
Yeah, as the map will note say here, it is ban-based, so
Yeah.
let's actually hope let's see if they do it. Or maybe, oh, LN2 is going to be a Duke agent this time, so density is going to be gone. That is kind of interesting, but maybe they're not. Maybe Team Yippee are maybe not feeling more the physical side, I guess, well combined with the LNs. But okay, yeah. I'm actually kind of curious because Get Creative, Make a Team Name. I think Rice Free is definitely going to be their strongest pick, like from the Protect. As from last week on the somewhat core Jack pick, they seeded first with a 997. So I'm like that was partially core Jack. This is full core Jack this week we have for Rice Free now. So yeah, this is gonna be very interesting to see how they'll perform on this. But I do know Team Yippee are also really strong when it does come to pure accuracy as well. So we could see both of them duking out maybe and see how that turns out. But now we have our picks here, and Team Yippee, they're just gonna go straight in the deep end. They're going into Protect Rice 6.
Absolutely. Looking to try and make a bit of a bold impression going into this match. I mean, especially for this one being a loser's bracket, it is pretty much all the more expected that either of these teams are going to have to try and at least pull out some of their best to be able to try and see whether they can remain in this tournament, because this is the point where the stakes are just going to increase with all the teams that are literally in the losers bracket, especially now that we're introducing conditionals on top of this. This is going to be additional nerve applied to everyone, as between this one, it's going to have to be either acting or me neither that they will have to face afterwards. So going to be another team just as strong as either which is going to matter a lot in this scenario. So I would imagine Get Creative Make a Name would definitely want to try and at least do their best when it comes to a lot of these maps. We get Team Yippee, look at it, trying to at least, prove similar worth, especially with Asumi Toki coming in for this map. Pretty much the most expected option, especially to try and counter that of Senkyu here.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, even looking at this as well, as you were mentioning that we are introduced to conditionals this week, this is going to be the straight when we're heading into the marathon. So right now, all you just have to do is kind of focus in for this week and even next week as well, for whatever team does claw out of the claws out the conditionals. Because let me tell you, you're gonna be listening to these songs a lot, and you might even grow sick of them at times.
Yeah, I mean, it's either these songs are just going to ring very well in the heads of one, or they're just going to be the absolute devil's advocate for many of these players going throughout the tournament. Because especially from here, the map pool is probably going to start giving less of a damn about each of the players going throughout the next few weekends, because this is where things are going to properly start ramping up. We've seen the difficulty in the previous few weeks and how close a lot of these matches were on even some of the easiest picks we had to offer. I mean, we had like, what, 200 BPM hand stream, jump stream with some really funny patterning, and somehow people were still eating that up like it's just another 5-star meal. So we're going to be seeing a little more of that going into this week, as it does look like there's going to be a switch out from the side of Get Creative, looking to try and make a name for themselves on the first pick here. CLLG going to be coming in for the likes of Splash of True Colors. Let's see what they got to bring.
All right. It's been a while since I have seen these players in action, so gotta dust off the webs and see how they'll perform in this absolute slaughterhouse map. So now with both players in, hopefully now we should get the MP Star command out.
Hopefully. We did go a little overboard from the timer's countdown, so probably gonna have to hope for the best that we get this map underway soon. I mean, doesn't seem like they really realized it, but hopefully they know for now that, we're probably gonna have to be a little more hands on deck with a lot of the timers from here on out, especially with this map pool gonna be a little difficult. This is like one of those map pools where it's gonna be incredibly difficult to actually sight read, because especially for the conditionals, you're going to have to really understand your opponents. And even in this scenario, you're going to be pit against people that are a lot closer to where you are in terms of skill. We're basically at a point where the seedings just basically mean nothing, for lack of a better descriptor. So this is something that a lot of teams and players alike are going to have to take into their own hands going into a map like Rise 6, where this is fairly jump stream oriented at the start. Just a little bit of control in the beginning. So far, so good. Everyone's off to a good start. A little bit of a drop from Toki, but not going to matter way too much because it's the intro. There's only 2.5 minutes at that as well, so both players are going to have to be really, really careful if they want to try and make it out here alive.
Funny as you said sight read. I got a glimpse in the chat that CLLG actually played the wrong pool, so they're actually jumping into sight reading now. So it is only 2 minutes and 33 seconds. And which means there's not much room for error, especially in a map that's very dumpy at 214 BPM. And here we are jumping into the Ki. You really just have to follow the vocals for here, as long as you transition out through the mini jacks, which both players are doing pretty well. But as soon as actually taking a few accuracy drops, finding a 100 is well on one of those bursts and hitting pretty late.
Yeah, not looking to scale as much physically as opposed to CLLJ, who's basically pulling so many good efforts throughout these patterns. But as I say that's a mid's going to come out. The first one we've seen throughout this match so far. This is by far the hardest Rise pick that we got after Transhumanist. So it makes the most sense that we're going to see a lot more matches being so scarily close on a pick like this, because now this miss alone has just neutralized everything. Even if Toki had the worst accuracy all throughout that first half of the map, the back half is going to be a lot more competitive if it does come down to maybe even more misses, because this next course that we got here, the key change, is going to make everything so much worse from here on out.
And here we are, CLLG is going to find another miss, but it's up to Asuma if they're still up for it, finding a lot more 200s as some of those trills, and as more of those dump patterns still keep holding on. Will they be able to keep on to the full combo? The score might even lead back over towards the side of CLLG just because how stronger their accuracy is. But as we get into the final stretch, the trills are raining in. Any miss now could just bring the score lead back over towards Team Yippee, but Asuma Toki finds that final drop. That is going to be the bullet in the chamber as we get to the outro. CLLG taking that last miss, but is that going to do enough? With a 2k score difference at the end, I don't think that puts a dent in it at all. Very close match for a kickoff, and going to be a very strong breakpoint for Get Creative making name.
Absolutely. That's going to be a really strong breakpoint to throw out right off the bat, because we've seen how close this was for the good remainder of the map, only resulting in a bit of a climactic ending, which unfortunately did not go as well as Team Yippee was hoping for here, as Get Creative is going to be getting their first point. So now they're going to be in the driver's seat for this next pick. I would imagine throughout this match, they might want to have to stray away from some of the more technical maps on the Rice Pool just because of how close it can be. I mean, especially with CLLJ here, they performed astoundingly on this map alone, so they're gonna have to be really careful going into maybe some of the future picks as well, because none of these other technical Rice maps really lets up in difficulty either, and the hybrids are basically a much worse story to be told here.
Well, I mean, since most maps are pretty much technical in some sort of way, as you said, I think Get Creative make a name might want to be a bit more on the simple side and maybe even pick something like, I would say Rice 1, maybe even Rice 3, maybe with the nature of Rice 2, you could go with it. Okay, there's going to be a glove touch. Both teams going to be jumping into their protects straight away, so we're going to be seeing Passion, which is going to be our debut of a core jack pick.
Okay, yeah, definitely would have expected this one to be a bit of an early pick as well for at least one of these teams. So we can basically see both teams just throwing out their protects just to start it off, just testing the waters of what options can really be achieved from here on out. This is the second map of the cycle that either side is going to be playing, unless we see any player switches from here, especially for Toki. I'm assuming going to have to be the breadwinner for that Team Yippee, depending on how good Medium Kick can scale going into a map that's as hard as the quarterfinals from the Mania World Cup. CLLJ was really good when it comes to accuracy, and I'm especially assuming they're gonna have to be at least the strongest fighter for Rice on the side of Get Creative. So if nothing changes from the teams here, then they're gonna have to probably strategize around the next few picks, because this is where they're gonna have to go into untapped markets and untraveled territory, which is definitely gonna be a bit of an issue for them if it does not end up being the most concise of decisions. Yeah.
Oh, 100%. And even then, this is going to be both these players' second picks, so they only have one map before they do have to swap out for Medium Kick and Senku. So, Rice 3, look at that timer being 3 minutes 55, but it is a small bit cut, as you did see there. At 140 BPM, this should be pretty okay, I'd say, for these two players. But the thing is, it is very anchor heavy. So you have that big endurance, and you also just kind of got to make sure you don't really tunnel vision this as well.
I think one of the bigger issues to put into perspective with this map is that, despite what the length says, the drain time is literally only 2 minutes. So this is actually the shortest map in the entire map pool, despite what the length is saying. Not looking to try and match that of Hybrid 1, but so far so good. Past the first quarter, this is a really short map, so any mistakes and any human error is going to be amplified way much more than you would expect from all these other maps. This is going to be a really dangerous map for either side if it does come down to any misjudgments, but so far, CLLJ is holding a tremendous 99.98% accuracy. Looking to try and make a bit of a statement going throughout this first verse as we approach the back half.
As you say that, it seems like Asuma has also dropped 2 100s on one of the anchors as well, so CLLG just has to kind of hold on and maybe get into the final third victory lap. But as the anchors start to roll up, and we might even get some more of those stream transitions, another 50 dropped on the side of Asuma as well, they're going to have to be hoping for a miracle, as CLLG is on at 99.99. We could potentially see a 100% as well.
Dude, there's no way. This is only a Thursday we're seeing a match, and somehow these players are just playing like it's just another Sunday night evening. Like, how do they perform this as we're going into the very ending of the map? It doesn't look like CLLJ is going to be prone to any more mistakes, as, you know, they're bleeding out the perfects, but that's already enough because the damage has been done on the side of Toki, having made so many of these misjudgments despite getting the FC. This is going to be a disrespectful 996k coming out from CLLJ. 18 perfects!
18
What?
18 perfects is very impressive on a pick like this. Okay, like, even with anchors in like, this map is either going to be, I think this is also pretty band-aid as well. Like, you can even just see all those anchors and how prone, like, people are for misjudgments as well. Had the misjudgments not happened on the side of CLLG, we could have potentially saw 999k. But, oh well, it happens. It's Core Jack. Very different nature compared to, like, I don't know, every other map. So I guess you just have to kind of move on from it. So now, Get Creative are 2 points up, so Team Yippee do have to go back into this and get a breakpoint back if they do want to equalize the score again. So the question is, what do they pick?
I would honestly expect Team Yippee to try and stray away from the Rice category for a bit, just because of the fact that we've had both the most comfortable picks arguably being thrown out already, and so far both had only resulted in victories for the likes of Get Creative, make a name. So I think Team Yippee would need to try and at least branch out a little bit, go for something that it's a little more unexpected, but instead they're gonna remain in the Rice category with the likes of Transhumanists. I'm not entirely sure about this pick, just because of its similarities to being one of the hardest Rice maps we have in the entire Rice category, similarly to Rice 6, albeit it's not, this one's not even the wild card, this is just like regular tech on a map that pretty much everyone and their moms know if they've played Mania for long enough, bro.
Transhumanist is a very funny map. It's been ranked for a good bit, and, like, if you can already hear, it is just tech dump. Like, that's essentially what this is. But it is cut because the intro is quite long.
Same with the outro. Like, they're pretty much just two peas in a pod, just being some of the longest parts that this map has to offer. So if we're gonna go into a map, we may as well just not vex Snow and just go right into the main meat of the map. You know what I mean? Like,
oh, 100%.
But anyways, the arrow comes down. Here we go. This is the map. It is the Transhumanist we're seeing both players on. And so far, these bursts are not actually throwing either side off. There's a little bit of a bias in the favor of CLLJ, just going off of how dense these 1-8 streams are. But that's going to be a little bit of a minor drop coming out from Toki going into this section. And it's going to be a bit of a tough one if they take that miss as well.
Well, the good thing is, at least it is only still at the start of the map. They still have another around 2.5 minutes to kind of catch the breath and maybe hop on. And here we are, as we're going to introduce a couple more jacks at 170 BPM, it could definitely be hard to kind of transition in and out while trying to hold on to that accuracy. We have seen CLLG drop on a few anchor jacks before, but I think they might be comfortable with this just looking at them.
Especially in a part like this, it's important that you're gonna have to be a little more comfortable in parts like these where it's arguably the least difficult you can go in the map. Like, yes, this is pretty much just 174 jump stream with some occasional mini jacks as well to express out the percussion and the drums. I mean, especially if you are a little acquainted with Drago's style, you would pretty much know that he has a bit of a knack for a lot of these more abrasive patterns, especially that enter dump territory. And this one being one of the first dump maps that ever graced the rank section like 6 years ago even. This pretty much has, like, at least made a name for itself at being infamous for a lot of these really tough patterns at only 5 stars.
Yeah, it's definitely a technical moment of all time. But as we do get into the back half of the map now, we're getting a lot more of those anchors, a lot more of those jump jacks as well, accompanied by some hands. And everything is still off the board as we're getting into kind of more of those Gracie sections. But now the stream kind of goes back and reins in, even seeing some mini jump stream here as well. Although Asumatake has caught up their accuracy quite a bit from what we have seen from the start, I don't really think it's enough. Even CLLG can tank and miss here, and I think they would still be okay.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, at this point, Toki's accuracy and just in general... Okay, that's a miss coming out from CLJ. I was gonna say that Toki is pretty much like cut their accuracy like a calorie deficit, just going throughout this map alone, not looking to be one of the most comfortable players going into a map as abrasive as this, where there's just so much control involved that it's insanely difficult to be able to remain on top of it, as CLLJ has been showcasing throughout. And this is gonna be the end of the map. We're basically done with the difficulty, and at this point, it's pretty much unlikely, as much as I hate to say, for the likes of Toki to bring it back and at least get another get their first point, especially with this one pretty much resulting in another break point.
And here we are as the final Anchor Jump stream does come to a close. Get Creative are going to be winning their second break point, giving them a pretty significant advantage. So for Team Yippee, they do have to kind of play a bit into why's next. But the thing is as well, both CLLG and Asuma will have to sub out for the next match, as both of them have played 3 matches. So now we're going to be seeing Medium Keck, and we are also going to be seeing Senku in their next picks, respectively.
Yeah, I'm assuming because of this alone, they're going to have to be forced into something that's going a little outside the Rise category, because especially for the likes of Get Creative, I know for a fact that the likes of Senku is a little more well-rounded when it comes to the non-Rise maps, as much as they are also really strong within the Rise category as well. We've pretty much gone 3 maps in, basically halfway done with the entirety of the Rise category. But even then, the options are on that Rise category, if it does come down to Team Yippee at least snagging some points here and there, all from here on throughout, is going to be a little dicey, because especially with the likes of Taka's Pelican Till, that one's going to be a really dense map to even go into throughout this Round of 16 weekend. I'm not sure how many people are actually going to play the map, but from the looks of it, I'd imagine maybe LN1 or at least Hybrid 1 would have to be safer options for either side, unless they want to go out and go for something a little more interesting, something a little more intriguing, as there is Hybrid 2 that is open on the board, but that's the hardest Hybrid pick by far, especially with LN2 being super difficult. There's a reason as to why that one was banned out particularly. So if Hybrid 2 was to get the pick... Oh, god damn it. As soon as I say that. All right. Thank you.
All right. Hybrid 2. Again, we're jumping into more tech. Now, see, the thing is, we have seen CLLG hold their own when it definitely comes to tech. We have seen Senku hold their own when it comes to LN. I haven't seen Medium Keck yet perform, so it is very interesting to see how both these players will kind of hold up on a pick like this. But I do know that Medium Keck is also pretty strong when it comes to Langno, so could be both players just putting up their juice for this map.
Yeah, especially with, you know, the juice they're going to have to start running off of on a map like this. This map is... I think I accidentally overshot this one a little bit when I was pulling it for this map pull, because I was kind of under the influence that the actual reference I was going off of for some of these hybrids were kind of a little easy, especially for MWC quarterfinals. So if this one ends up just somehow being within the comfort of either player, I'm going to be genuinely shocked, because this is a pick that's going to be really important for Team Yippee, because there's only really one point that Get Creative needs to make to even get a match point situation, and that's going to immediately thrust the likes of Team Yippee into probably one of the worst positions that they could be into, because they will be facing the brink of team elimination from this turn if it does come down to that.
Alright, we'll have to see. Small rough start from Medium Keck at the start, finding a few 200s on the free column rolls. But as always, if there's a will, there's a way. And this map is 2 minutes 31 seconds as well. So maybe Medium Keck can kind of rely on Senku to find a drop and maybe catch up. Because in a pick like this, combo matters 100%. And you can even see, like, the average accuracy, of course, is going to be low for this map, as you have a lot more of those scattered releases and some of those shields. And at OD 7.2, it's definitely not an easy task to kind of hold your own one on this pick.
Yeah, especially with the overall difficulty itself, just the general timing windows of this map is actually a little nerfed as opposed to some of the other picks. If you were to put them side by side, especially with some of the Ellen maps being at OD7 with how difficult they are. This is only 0.2 values above that integer, as so far, Senkyu has the advantage by about 3,000 points, but the map only ramps up from difficulty from here on out. And especially, like, at least going off of the original map, there's a lot of hell that is to be reckoned with a lot of these picks. And this is going to be a miss coming out from Senkyu, but it's traded back immediately by Medium Kek.
Ooh, Medium Kek also taking a couple more chain drops as well. Gonna give Senkyu both the combo advantage going into the last drop. All they have to do is hold on for the next few notes, and they will be absolutely golden. But the thing is, even finding a miss in this map, like you've seen the accuracy drops, it is not a good. Like, this map is not like a fun time to combo break on because how dense it is. But the thing is, we're heading into the final quarter, so anything can still happen. It is just scary to find out and see.
As much as I like to say, it's still anyone's game, but that's going to be 2 misses, 3 misses coming up from Medium Kek. Not looking the most comfortable with this really dense cores where you have so many of these Ellen Flams coming out, and just the general sound design is so perplexed that even Kek himself is perplexed by it, and we're going 40,000 points to the advantage of Senkyu here. The scoreline is basically done for this map unless Senkyu also collapses on this, but we've seen from him in the other rounds as well, especially round of 32. At this point, it's not even likely. Oh no.
We're going to be seeing the final miss from Senkyu at the end, but it doesn't matter despite that significant score difference of 37,000. Really, as he said, it's definitely a brutal map, especially over towards the back half, just dealing with all those Ellen Flams, rolls, density spikes, pretty much everything. Had Medium Kek FC this map, maybe we could have seen it go over towards Blue's way, but in this scenario, it seems like Senkyu is going to be the one who comes out on top with a very respectable 971k.
Yeah, this is going to be a really tough pillow to swallow for the side of Team Yippee, because this was yet another map that they had to win, and they have one lost pick left. If it does come down to everything, this is going to have to be the one, because they are literally facing one of the worst situations that they could early on into the round of 16. It's either they have to pull off a reverse sweep, win 4 maps afterwards to force the tiebreaker, which is also just as evil as Hybrid 2 was. I honestly feel like as much as the Rise category would be a safe bet for them, it's going to be risky for them, they might have to stick to that alone just because of how evil some of these outside picks just feel. Very foreign to a bit of the capabilities of Team Yippee here, I feel.
I think in this scenario they probably have to go either Rise 1 or Rise 2, and maybe LN1 if they're feeling up to more kind of coordination oriented stuff. And I was correct.
Yeah.
LN1 is going to be picked, and it is the shortest pick, surprisingly. Like, you thought the Gojek pick was short. This one's shorter.
Yeah.
Maybe. So I'm actually kind of curious to see how this one comes out, and we'll see if we have the same lineups again. Will we have Senkyu, Medium Kek, or will we see CLLG or Noki kind of make their appearance again?
I mean, at least thinking about Get Creative, they pretty much made a name for themselves on the Rise category thanks to the likes of CLLJ proving absolute wonders all throughout what we've seen so far. So I would pretty much imagine Senkyu is pretty much here to reciprocate that for anything outside the Rise category, as we have seen on the likes of Hybrid 2 especially. Meaning kept pretty much going to be at least similar on that note for the likes of Team Yippee, at least mirroring that of Senkyu on the side of Get Creative and their purpose respectively, going into the likes of Flesh Deletion, which is my map in this round of absolute hell that we're going to be seeing. This pick is going to be a little evil for both these players. I'm honestly curious to see how they're going to do on this one.
I'm also the same with this. I feel like... Okay, you can already see from the start that, like, you might think it's coordination, but no, it's like 2 minutes, 236 BPM. Medium Kek finding a few 200s to start again. I think Senkyu did as well, but it doesn't really come down to whoever has a better start, but excluding combo, of course. Senku does find an early drop. So all Medium Kek essentially has to do is kind of just hold on to the combo first, and maybe then focus on accuracy second, but very close second, of course, because we already know that Senku can definitely hold her own when it comes to LN accuracy, just a bit more than Medium Kek. But now it's actually swung back over towards the side of Senku.
Yeah, indeed. So far, things are looking a little dicey. This is definitely a bit of a better shot than Medium Kek has had in the maps throughout this round so far. But so far, Senku has the edge once again. This is one of the shorter maps we have in the entire round, bar that Rise Free and Hybrid Free on that note as well. So any of these mistakes are going to be amplified so much more. Medium Kek's already well renowned for at least being as part of so many strong teams that feature at least one player that's literally out of this world. I mean, especially in at least the 2 iterations we have seen of Speed of Light, for example, they literally paired up with YZ when it came to this very same team format. So the fact that they had Toki to cover some of these Rice maps pretty much means everything, as they're going to have to try and carry out what they can on this pick. Unfortunately, with that miss in the bag as well.
11k score difference in the final 6 of the map isn't really going to be pretty handy.
Oh, no.
Not going to be that great, especially now dropping under 99 and being underneath that 400 combo cap with a 20k score difference. Something fatal is going to have to happen to Senku if Medium Kek does want that chance to come back. But unfortunately, I don't really even see that. Both players hit the anchor, and that's going to be it. Get ready to make a team name is going to get the sweep on Team Yippee. Going to be eliminating them from Abstraction Cup as well. And Get Creative Make a Name will be running themselves into the first conditional.
Absolutely. This is going to be a strong performance and a very strong showing for the likes of Get Creative, as they have pretty much pulled their will to make it all throughout this round alone. There was a lot of close points throughout the Rice category. However, it did seem a little as if they were in the driver's seat by far when it came outside of these Rice maps alone. So unfortunately, the likes of Team Yippee, both Medium Kek and Asumitoki, is unfortunately going to be deleted from this tournament following that result from LN1. That's going to be a really unfortunate scenario for them, because especially with this bracket in hand, it's just so many strong teams after another, as we are now going to see the likes of Get Creative Make a Name facing between the likes of Acting and Mean Ever, as I have mentioned, which they will be facing at least on Saturday, most likely. So this is going to open up for some really interesting scenarios if either team are going to be looking a little forward, because this is the point where they're going to have to just really think about it. Just really try and make sure they have it all in the bag, because this is the point where it matters the most, I'd say.
Oh, 100%. You kind of have to keep your cool as well going into the 2 matches you have as well. So Get Creative Make a Name is going to be facing the winner of Acting or Mean Ever. So C24 versus or C35. So that's actually going to be a really close match, hopefully. So stay tuned for that.
Absolutely. Better words have never been said by the likes of our Nightkore himself. So once again, this has pretty much been our first match of the Round 16 weekend. Really quick and easy one on this very fine Thursday, as I guess I have to grow accustomed to these, having commentated on a Thursday for the Mania World Cup itself. So our next matches should start on Saturday with the likes of Lostberry Hiroba and Inorganic facing at 2 UTC on Saturday this coming weekend. So that pretty much does it for me on this match. Pretty much straightforward. I'm just wondering, Nightkore, do you have anything else you'd like to add on before we close it off?
No, you took the words out of my mouth, essentially.
Oh, I'm sorry. I can give you them back. Sorry. I was just low on fuel. That's literally all I needed.
It's all good. Don't worry.
Yeah. But it's okay. Anyways, I've been Epic Man 2, joined alongside Nightkore. We'll be catching you all in the next episode of Abstraction Cup. See you then, and take care.
Goodbye.
Did you know that life is video game?